Number 21. Patterns can be engaging. Pattern is intriguing to the eye and can be formed by repeating elements. Imagine a row of baskets of fruit of colours arranged together of apples and oranges and lemons. Or arrangements of lights and darks, masses or colours, or anything that is repeated. It's amazing how many patterns you can find all around, and even though patterns might go unnoticed in our everyday life, they can have real impact in your composition. Another very powerful composition tool is to find a pattern and then interrupt or break it, which draws attention to your subject, contrasted against the recurring elements. You can break the pattern in many ways, such as finding different colours, shapes, or placements than the pattern. Number 22. The golden ratio proportions. It can help guide you to create pleasing proportions and the best location for your centre of interest. Simply put, with the math aside, the golden ratio is a proportion that is pleasing to the eye and is found in many natural occurrences, in shapes of shells, plants, pine cones and other interesting places. You can take a deeper look into this by Googling golden ratio in art to see how Da Vinci and many other artists use it extensively in their composition. The first way to apply the ratio is to use grid lines similar to the point of thirds, but placed slightly differently. Instead of the vertical and horizontal lines forming a tic-tac-toe grid of identically sized rectangles, both vertical lines are moved slightly closer to the centre, which produces a smaller rectangle in the centre, which then forms the golden ratio with the rectangles on either side and above it. Number 23. S-curve composition leads the eye gracefully. Imagine a photo of a river with mountains in the background. An S-curve of a river might lead your eye right to the tallest of the peaks, forming a centre of interest deep into the picture. An S-curve is a dynamic composition format that leads your eye gracefully and gives dimension to the image, and thus adds the perception of space to a two-dimensional image.
It's an S-curve. It's like going on a slight curve there, back that way. So what I want you to do, Elisa, is to go all the way to the very end of where that S is. See that little bush on the left there?
Yes.
Just stand right about there and look this way. Yeah. So right about, that's good. Yeah. Boom. Okay, now let's see how we're going to use this. Bring it back up to about F13. Nice. Maybe like this. Yeah. That's cool. Okay.
Number 24. Circular or O composition invites the eye to stay within it. Everyone has an urge to see through an opening or through a window, and the eye is drawn irresistibly to the opening. Accordingly, the centre of interest should be within the opening or somewhere along the edge. You can view the circular opening from any angle or point of view to draw the eye into the subject.
We've got the branches around this way and then coming back here. To make it perfect, it would have to be kind of like this, as you can see. But you know, these are compositional guidelines. They don't have to be perfect. So I'm going to let that go. And what I want you to do is put your arms out like that. Yeah. And I just want to try a couple of different things. Bring your arms in. Just kind of like try. Okay, let's try this. Okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. A yoga stand. That's actually very cool. Okay.
Number 25. U composition invites you to look within. They don't need to be a literal or exact U shape to perform its function of inviting the eye to look within. This tool provides a natural edge to your frame that invites your eye to look inside.
So, this is called U-shape composition. If you look at it, the edges of the cliffs here are forming a U with the ocean as the bottom of the U, basically demarked by, again, the two cliffs and the ocean. So we're going to take advantage of this because this is something we didn't have before. So what else have we got here? Yeah, so let's try, yeah, do that again. And look up that way, yeah. Okay, that's cool. So I'm shooting landscape and portrait mode, and I'm going to go really wide and come in close, which just gives a different perspective. That's something Bob Holmes likes to do. He really likes to use a wide angle lens but get close to the subject And it just produces a kind of an intimacy.
Number 26. Triangle composition provides stability and strength. It's interesting to look at how many iconic paintings and images contain triangles within them. Rembrandt used triangles in his composition of portraits, so its use extends beyond scenic landscapes. No doubt the most famous triangle composition is the Mona Lisa. Use triangles in your composition to add a feeling of strength and stability.
This is actually a combination of U-shaped composition that leads your eye like the opening of a curtain to the opening, which is a triangle showing strength. In this case, the rock jetting out of the ocean.
Number 27. Radiating lines lead to the center of interest. Radiating lines in composition will lead the viewer's eye right to the center of interest in your image. But it doesn't need to be a complete circle. You could have lines radiating from any point, and even non-symmetrically. The effect will be the same as leading the eye to the focal point of the image. Number 28. Cross-composition and eye movement. The cross-composition is a format where a major vertical line crosses over a major horizontal line. As in the radiating line format, the eye is drawn towards the intersection. Therefore, the center of interest should be at that point. Let's take a moment to talk about eye movement. This is the path that your viewer's eye follows as they look at your image. Imagine you're walking into a gorgeous garden. There might be an entry point of the path that directs you to the main center of attention, the tree and the chair to sit on, and then the path directs you to leave at the top. If you had gone through all the work of creating this work of art, you certainly wouldn't want visitors to wander and step all over the garden, but to follow a directed path, enter, move to the focal point, and exit. The same should be true for your images. The midline of the image also forms a point of balance. The eye should be made to cross over the center line at least once in every picture, and as it travels it must find something of interest to be satisfied. Understanding the concept of eye movement will greatly help you compose your images.
Cross-composition is a special case of radiating lines. We have aerial as the obvious center of interest, with vertical lines leading up the door and to the roof, and horizontal lines of the bricks.
Number 29. Balanced scale composition. Landscape with a Stone Bridge by Rembrandt feels imbalanced because the main centre of interest is balanced by the trees on the right and the left. Also look at his use of the gloomy sky to add depth and mood, with the tree in the centre lit up by the sun, inviting your attention to it. This also adds to the balanced feeling of the image. Look for them naturally occurring, such as a mountain peak balanced by two lesser peaks. You could also create a balanced composition by moving objects and/or your subject. Number 30. Find contrast in your image. Use contrast as a compositional tool to make your subject stand out against the background or foreground. There are many ways to show contrast besides lighting. For example, the contrast between man-made and natural objects. The term for this is juxtaposition, which is defined as the fact of two things being seen or placed close together with contrasting effect. Showing differences can help your viewer understand your subject and the story you're telling.
It's kind of interesting just because, again, it's a different mood line, though, if you notice it. It's jagged. Now, a jagged line is actually one of the things it indicates is masculinity. Well, she's very feminine. She's very curvy, which is kind of the flip side of that. These mood lines, by the way, they go in pairs. You know, in this case, you have the jagged, masculine, and that's actually contrasting with her being very feminine, which is one thing you can do with mood lines. You can use them against each other because contrast is a really powerful tool in your composition. It could be contrast in terms of light and dark. It can be contrast in terms of colors, and in this case, we're contrasting mood lines.
Number 31. Fill the frame by getting close to your subjects. Let your subject take centre stage and fill the frame, in contrast to what we talked about with tool number 11, where they might only be a small punctuation point. To fill the frame, you might have to overcome shyness about getting close to people. The best advice I can give you is to take a breath, and then move a few or more steps closer until your subject fills the frame.
I'm filling the frame with aerial. Remember what documentary photographer Robert Capa said. If your photographs aren't good enough, you're not close enough. Don't be afraid to get up close.
Number 32. Pull back to capture the story. The flip side to what we just talked about is to take a step back to capture the full moment of your subject. The pullback can be accomplished by using a wide-angle lens, or simply stepping back. In either case, you're capturing a wider view that takes in more of the scene and the story. When you stop and think about what's going to be the most significant thing, a lot of times it's not necessarily what you're seeing, but what someone else might be seeing. One of photography's versatile aspects is that you can capture a scene in many ways, and later decide which tells your story the best. You might step in to fill the frame, then pull back to get a wide shot. Number 33. Place the dominant eye in the centre of the photo. Here's a powerful tip from National Geographic photographer Steve McCurry. When you place the subject's dominant eye in the centre of the frame, you'll convey the feeling that the eyes are following the viewer. This is often coupled with filling the frame. This brings up another key point. We really connect with people when we look them right in the eye.
The dominant eye is the one that the person generally will focus with. If you hand them a card and you say cover your eye, they'll cover their non-dominant eye. I'm going to try to put that right in the center of the frame. This is where those grid lines are also really helpful, because what I'm doing here, and we'll probably put this on the screen, is I'm putting you right in the rectangle in the middle. And there, boom. I'm going to shoot it both ways because I'm not really sure. And don't be afraid to shoot landscape and portrait mode, and just decide later on which one works best.
Number 34. Use colour as a powerful composition tool. Colour can be a very powerful composition element that easily combines with other tools to add depth, mood, interest, and other strong qualities. I captured a photo in my last semester of high school while I was on a project to build a medical dispensary in a remote region of the Sierra Madre in Mexico, of a church door in Yoya, Mexico. Up to this point, I'd only been shooting black and white photos. As we were about to head to the States, the head of the project loaned me his classic Nikon F and one roll of Ektachrome film. I was naturally very alert to capturing colour when I came across a church with a deep blue door. The picture managed to combine framing and contrast, which we've gone over, but the dominant aspect of the composition is the striking colour of the door. Strong colours can be added to your other composition tools, as Bob Holmes often does.
I'm adding a spot of color from Elise's hat as an example of using color as a compositional tool, contrasted against the rugged background.
We'll be looking at mood lines, which are lines in your image that can convey a mood or feeling. Mood lines can help you create a feeling that is consistent with your image, otherwise you could have a very mixed message. Imagine you're on a trip and trying to show your followers on social media how you were in action from morning to night. But your image has a strong level line. Your message will be mixed and diluted by having a mood line that doesn't match the story you're trying to tell. Mood lines can help you capture what you visualized or imagined for your image. Seeing an obvious mood line can help you imagine what you want to capture. As you study these, you'll notice that there are pairs of opposites called a dichotomy, which means a division or contrast between two things that are or are represented to be as being opposed or entirely different. These definitely can be used as contrasting or juxtaposed elements, which we covered in number 30. You can see that mood lines are another set of tools that you can use along with those we've already covered. Like a craftsman at his workbench, when you have all your tools easily available, you can grab the right one for the right task. You can also have a vision of your photo and then look for a line that matches that mood, often by changing your angle of view or using one of the other tools we've covered. Number 35. Active. Imagine a line that looks like a flattened Z, like a lightning bolt turned at 45 degrees. In a photo you might have a lad going over a river on a rope that followed this line. This certainly conveys the mood of being active. We touched upon this with diagonal lines conveying vitality, but there are a whole host of other line forms which can help express moods or emotions.
In this case, I'm using an active mood line of the angle of her body accentuated by the tree limbs.
Number 36. Passive. A straight horizontal line. Imagine a picture of a lake with a flat horizon in the distance. Consider the sense of calmness in a picture of a serene lake, compared with the feeling of an image of a river rushing over rocks. Number 37. Structural, solid, strong. A line resembling the silhouette of a castle turret. Imagine a picture looking up at a strong structure like the clock tower of the ferry building in San Francisco. This emphasizes the vertical lines, which helps you feel the structural and strong nature. Number 38. Non-structural, fluid, soft, a gently undulating horizontal line. Imagine a picture of long grasses in summer, with the weight of the seeds making the stalks lean over at the top and giving a fluid and soft feeling. Number 39. Stable, linked wavy lines, with the lines bowing upwards like a child's drawing of a seagull with arrows pointing down at them. Picture boulders at the edge of a lake under a brooding sky, with the tops of the curved rocks suggesting stability against the downward pressure of the sky.
The subtle curves of the tree limb add a sense of her stability, along with her standing straight up as in number 41. You can see there is often more than one mood line in any image, just like a chef using different ingredients in a variety of dishes.
Number 40. Unstable. The same wavy line but the other way up, with arrows pointing down into the base of each curve. Imagine a picture of a surfer in the midst of a breaker, with lines that follow the edge of the waves. In surfing, the key to a great ride is being able to master the forces of the wave that are unstable, and ride it without being overwhelmed by it. Number 41. Stable, a straight horizontal line with a perpendicular vertical line like an upside-down capital T. The same subject can be conveyed with different moods compared. Like words, images have a vocabulary where you can express the same concept in different ways. For example, to express the idea of stable, you could say firm, solid, steady, each communicating the concept in slightly different ways. Number 42. Unstable. The same upside-down letter T, but with the vertical line slanted away from the perpendicular. There is a painting called Landscape with Waterfall by Jacob Isaacson von Ruysdael. In it the river is foaming over rocks forming a small waterfall. The slanting trees on the left, centre and right certainly add to the feeling of instability of the boiling river. And this is a good example of the artist's use of mood lines to strengthen his composition. Number 43. Positive, bold, forceful, a thick, straight, horizontal line. Imagine a picture of a bridge splitting the view from left to right. In this tool we are using another straight line, but bolder and showing more strength. Number 44. Tenuous, uncertain, wavering, a line twitching up and down like one made by a seismograph. Van Gogh painted many self-portraits. One of them has him in a coat with a blue lining to the lapels. The line of his hat and many other lines in this portrait fit this mood, and from what we know of Van Gogh, he was uncertain and wavering about himself, reflected in the many tenuous mood lines in the painting. Number 45. The vertical, noble, dramatic, inspirational, aspiring. A vertical line. Imagine a picture of a doorman standing ready in his uniform outside a pair of ornate gates. The doorman is standing outside the Dakota building, on the spot where John Lennon was shot. This mood line has at least 4 qualities attached to it, yet the image may only convey 1 or 2. Number 46. The horizontal, earthy, calm, mundane, satisfied. Imagine a picture of an old rock with lichen and plants growing from the horizontal seams. Here again, several meanings or moods for this flat line, and you can use it to express your intended mood. This one would be earthy. Number 47. Primitive, simple, bold. A line climbing slowly to a soft peak and then falling more sharply afterwards. Imagine a picture of a boy climbing a boulder in the foreground with the mighty half-dome of Yosemite National Park in the background. But both elements following this mood line, expressing the feeling of being simple and bold. Number 48. Effusive, a wavy line made up of messy curves and loops. Picture Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead with wavy and effusive hair. Effusive hair means full and expansive, which Garcia's hair and music certainly were good examples of. It could also be used to show something was unrestrained or over the top, as in an effusive greeting or hug. Number 49. Flamboyant. Wavy, flame-like lines. You can totally change the feeling of someone you're photographing by having them dress in flamboyant clothes and have their hair tousled, and maybe throwing a flowing scarf. Number 50. Refined. A gently sloping line with a pair of small bumps. Refined means elegant and cultured in appearance, manner, or taste. If you want to capture someone or something and make them appear refined, look for smooth curves. To change your flamboyant portrait to be refined, have your subject wear a suit, take away the flowing scarves, and comb their hair. Number 51. Jagged, brutal, hard, vigorous, masculine, picturesque. The line looks like jagged triangular peaks. Imagine a picture of a range of mountains in the distance across a plain. Now, if you had your refined chap and you wanted him to look rugged and masculine, what might you do? Tell him to skip shaving, wear some rough jeans or chaps, and put him next to a jagged setting like boulders or mountains. What if you're in New York City and there's no mountains? No sweat. Central Park has some boulders you can take your subject to. It's all about first seeing or visualizing the mood or feeling that you envision and using your imagination to create it. 52. Curvilinear, tender, soft, pleasant, feminine, beautiful. A wavy line with the curves getting increasingly bigger. There's a painting called Girl in a Large Hat by Caesar Boetius van Everdingen. What a perfect example of curvaceous, feminine and beautiful that painting is, and quite the contrast to the mountains across the plain. But what about a tree? A tree can have those curves in a different way. Look for those curves if you want to express the beauty of your scene. If you were taking a portrait and wanted to convey the feeling of femininity and tenderness, you might look for a background with those curved lines. Number 53. Rough, rasping, grating. Imagine a picture of the sea breaking foamily over rocks and pebbles, and the line the edge of the pebbles would make. A long exposure helps to capture the feeling of motion over the rocks. With rough edges on the waves and stones, you can almost hear the sound of the rocks being grated by the surf going in and out. Number 54. Smooth, swelling, sliding. Imagine a picture of a flag flying in curve on the back of a boat, leaving a lively wake behind it, also in a flowing curve. There's often going to be more than one mood line involved in any one image. This one has the upright flagpole showing stability, which doesn't conflict with the smoothness. In fact, it adds contrast. Number 55. Decreasing, contracting. Imagine a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge at night, in black and white, from a distance. The whole flow of the lines to the right would show the bridge and landscape decreasing. There's also an interesting juxtaposition with the curves of the clouds showing unstableness. As you shoot, you can find many examples of multiple lines interacting with each other. Number 56. Increasing, expanding. Showing two lines expanding from a point. Imagine a sepia picture of a Victorian beach, with the base of the picture and the line of the surf, forming the widening V shape. That shape would draw your eyes up the beach to the buildings on the upper right, giving the feeling of increasing or expanding perspective. 57. Dynamic. A zigzag line like a horizontal lightning bolt. Imagine a pattern of zigzag lines in a photograph that give it a dynamic feeling of motion. Number 58. Static, focal, fixed. A solid black circle. Imagine a picture of an old-fashioned view camera, like one that Ansel Adams might have used. Play on words here, but the lens is the focal point of this image and tends to fix your attention on it. Number 59. In motion. A curved line gently climbing to the right. Imagine a picture of a busy road with several cars passing, and in the centre of the image a red Citroën 2CV, with this curving line accentuating its speed. I wanted to come back from Paris with at least one image of these iconic French cars captured, and waited on a corner until this deux chevaux, meaning two horses, flew by so I could check it off my shot list. The curved line the cars were following and the long exposure combined with it showed motion. I edited the image to desaturate everything but the red, to increase the contrast and highlight the classic colour of the car. Number 60. Meandering, casual, relaxed, interesting, human. A long line taking random curves and turns, sometimes looping back over itself. Imagine a picture from a rooftop looking down on dozens of interconnecting vats of dye, with lines that seem to wander at a leather tannery in Morocco. Life isn't made up of orderly lines, but even in these meandering lines there's relaxed, interesting humanness.
Ariel's pretty and curvilinear form is contrasted by the meandering mood of her wadded-up clothes, echoed by the tree limbs behind her. Another example of using contrasting mood lines.
Number 61. Erratic, bumbling, chaotic, confused. Imagine a modern sculpture with a mix of jagged and looping lines. Erratic, chaotic, and confused can be beautiful. Number 62. Logical, planned, orderly. Imagine a picture of several oars neatly hanging vertically on the wall of a boathouse, with their handling forming an upward square. Number 63. Flowing, rolling. Imagine a picture across a lake of the tree line on the shore silhouetted against the setting sun. This would be similar to the S-curve, just turned on its side, but with the same sort of flow and rolling feeling. Number 64. Formal, priestly, imperious, dogmatic. Imagine a picture of a tree-lined promenade, with the line of the base of the neatly manicured trees leading the eye towards the building in the distance. Let's say you wanted to take a formal portrait and make the subject look slightly imperious, domineering or arrogant. You could place them in the promenade with a low camera angle looking up at them. See number 16. These are all parts of your toolkit as a photographer to tell the story the way you envisage it. Number 65. Rising, optimistic, successful, happy. A line curving upwards from left to right. Imagine a picture of a boy in a red hoodie seen climbing a tree through a gap in the branches. It's easy to see that the upward curving line conveys feelings of happiness and success. Number 66. Falling, pessimistic, defeated, depressed. Imagine a picture of a man crouching, with slumped shoulders. When you're out photographing, be sure not to get stuck in any one type of mood. Life has them all, so learn to see and capture them as they are. Number 67. Indecisive, weak. A line moving up and down with small shakes here and there. Imagine a woman hanging laundry on a wavy line propped up with wooden poles. Keep in mind we're simply looking at lines and not passing judgment on our subjects. From what we'd see of the clotheslines, they show weak, indecisive lines, mirrored by the similar lines in the environment. These lines help to tell your story and can either add to the feeling you get from the subject, or can be used to contrast the subject with the environment. Number 68. Progressive. A curved zigzag, with each curve bigger than the last. Imagine a picture of a long stretch of the coastline of Big Sur, California. This is truly one of the most magical views you'll ever see.
So this is a progressive mood line as it's going down the coast here. And I want to try to get her somehow get this progressive mood line in the frame with her. That way. Nice. That's pretty cool.
Number 69. Regressive. Imagine a picture of ferns. Each fern frond with its group of leaves follows a digressive, gradually reducing pattern of lines. This is no less magical than the last, if on a smaller scale. It's worth noting that size and direction is often not a factor in the mood of the line. Rather, it is the character of the line that creates the mood. Number 70. Rise, attainment with effort, improvement.
Her gesture and upright stance gives Elisa a mood of attainment, echoed by her dual victory signs.
Number 71. Fall, sinking without effort. Imagine a picture of a waterfall, with its plume falling downward in a straight line. Number 72. Indirect, plodding. A meandering line turning up and down, but moving along very slowly. Imagine a picture of the Devil's Postpile National Monument, formed from a lava flow 100,000 years ago. Both man and nature display every one of the lines we're going over, almost as though they are a pattern, or the DNA of life. Number 73. Concentrating, assembling. A long line, almost forming concentric circles, curling inside itself. Find a picture of Simon Bolivar's signature, which he finished with a swirling flourish. You can tell from his signature alone that this was a great man, who branded himself with the flourish at the bottom of his name. Number 74. Dispersing, fleeing. A line spiralling outwards from a starting point. Imagine a picture of jars of paintbrushes. Imagine the outward spiral effect of the brushes, as they almost look like they are fleeing their containers. Dali's house is truly amazing. He literally turned every inch of it into a work of art. From this you can get the idea of a creative spirit constantly looking for ways to make his environment more aesthetic. Number 75. Broken, interrupted, severed. A straight line broken into sections, almost like Morse code. Imagine a picture through trees, in the fall, towards vineyards in the distance. You'll see broken lines everywhere in that image, of the trees, their shadows, and the vineyards beyond. The fact of their being broken and juxtapositioned with each other builds interest. Number 76. Direct, sure, forceful, with purpose. Imagine a picture of a dancer with her arms spread. That would be a great example of a direct and forceful line. Number 77. Opposing. Imagine a black and white picture looking up at a skyscraper which has parallel white lines running up its face. The opposing lines then would be key to the design of the tower. Number 78. Connecting or crossing. Imagine a picture of a small boy focusing on the strings of a guitar laid flat on his lap, the vertical line of his body intersecting with the horizontal line of the guitar in his lap. Look for cross lines to illustrate the connection between two parts of your image, and also see the notes for cross composition. Number 28. Number 79. Parallel, opposing with harmony. Imagine a picture of a horse with a girl with long hair kissing its nose, her body parallel with the face of the horse. Even though the lines would be opposing, the harmony would be obvious. Number 80. Excited, nervous, jittery, a sharply zigzagging line. Imagine a picture of wrought iron gates with a design featuring sharp points emanating from a central point and repeated across the gate. Antoni Gaudi was a visionary and genius architect of many buildings in Barcelona. He used the design described at the entrance to the park, no doubt to intentionally create a feeling of nervous excitement upon entering. Number 81. Opposing with friction. A painting of the explosion of the Spanish flagship during the Battle of Gibraltar by Cornelius Claes van Veeringen. The photograph shows opposing lines with friction perfectly. You can almost hear and feel the battle in the painting, which shows strong lines of opposing friction. Number 82. Diverging, dividing. Imagine a picture of a tree with diverging branches next to a fork in the road. So you'd be able to see multiple sets of diverging and dividing lines here, on the tree limbs and in the road that's diverging with an upside down Y. Number 83. Growing, developing. A line with new lines sprouting off again and again, like the shoots of a young plant. Imagine a picture of young plants poking through a snowdrift. Even though it will be months before spring arrives in Vermont, you'd have the feeling of this branch holding its own against winter and awaiting its time to grow and develop when the thaw finally comes. We've now covered 83 formats or tools for composition. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are many more that you can find by studying the works of masters, but the ones we have gone over will take you a long ways in expanding your compositional toolkit. I'm going to give you some final tips that you can incorporate in your use of what you've learned. Never lose sight of the depth of composition and the purpose it serves in communicating your idea to others with the pictures you've created. In the end, the purpose of composition is to help you communicate to your viewer what you saw and felt. With your composition, you can be passive or active. Passive means you take what comes your way and try to make the best of it. This is like being a spectator at a sporting event rather than a participant. I encourage you to be active in your approach to photography. Be willing to get in there and direct your shot. When working with people, interact with them and tell them where you want them to move, expressions you want, etc. Direct them actively. If you're shooting natural scenes, move about and choreograph your shot. Think of the tools we've gone over as a language. And similarly to broadening your vocabulary or learning a new language, you need to put the new words you've acquired into use so they become your own. This comes from practice, referring back to these tools and practicing again and again. Look at the whole frame of what you're capturing. Especially pay attention to the edges. Less is more, so take out anything that doesn't aid in communicating your message. Look at how light moves through your photograph and where it takes your eye. If there is something that would pull the viewer's eye away from the desired flow through your photograph, such as a splotch of light or reflection in a lower corner, compose your shot to avoid it in your frame. This goes back to being active. My final advice is to shoot often and put what you've learned here to continuous use. I'm hoping that many of you will want to take the challenge of capturing each one of these tools in your own work. I wish you all the best. Create amazing photography and stay in touch.